Okay, cool. So we got Felicia Michelle here. I know you from Penn State, right?
Yes, Nittany Lions.
So currently you're living in Louisiana.
Yep, I'm in a
You
mood.
your career is really interesting to me because it was what I thought my dream career was going to be. I went to Penn State because I thought I wanted to work for ESPN. And
Yeah.
so doing my research for you, because I do a little research for these. But yeah, doing your research, I saw that, you had that passion early on, and we can touch on that and everything. And, so I'm really interested to hear what my life could have been like pretty much. Because that was really one of the first things I was passionate about, to be honest, in my lifetime.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's start with, you work in the broadcast journalism uh, world,
Yeah.
right?
That's pretty much, I don't even like that term, to be quite honest with you. I think it's like when you say it really doesn't explain how vast this industry is, because it's ever evolving, because it's media, right?
Mm-hmm.
But now we also have social media as a part of
Mm-hmm.
media, and that's a part of my job now that
Mm-hmm.
never had been a part of the job before. You know what I mean? Like, there's so many different aspects of doing this, and then people who have successful YouTube careers, like, now I want to say channels, they make YouTube videos, so they have YouTube careers. So I think a lot of the same skill sets that you study when you study broadcast journalism
Right.
are across the board now, and they're even more readily available for people, because you don't need, like, I can literally shoot stories on my phone. I have shot stories that aired on television on an iPhone,
Right.
and I've edited them on the iPhone. Like, I've done all that. So I mean, it's just, yes, I guess broadcast journalism, but I really consider myself to be a host more than anything. A journalist is somebody who is, of course, they should be fact driven. They should be, research things. They should be unbiased, but as a host, you have more of a way you can have your own personality. It's not just like, the news anchor voice. Every time I talk to someone, they're always like, do the voice, go on, do the voice, do the voice. And I'm like, I'm literally in the grocery store right now with no makeup on and like a puff on top of my head. Like, I cannot do the voice for you right now because I'm not in that setting.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So do you were working for a local news station in Monroe, Louisiana. Do you get noticed? Like, was that something that is this your first time where you're getting noticed like that?
Yes. I always got, like, because I lived in LA, and then I did like entertainment, like journalism out there and hosting out there. And then of course, when you do the LA thing, you be like, let me try to act a little bit wherever I can get a check. You do all that kind of stuff. So you maybe do commercials and things like that.
Right.
So I would get from people a lot of times, you look so familiar. You look really familiar. And I would just always be like, oh, okay, I always get that. Because I'm never like a person like, did you see my ad? Had millions of people watching it. Like, I'm good. I'm straight. Like, I'm really okay on that. That's fine. But it's weird to like kind of be just shopping along, and then someone goes, "You're the lady on the news," like they do that. And they everyone always points, and they always say that. But it feels really good because you put a lot of work into what you do, and to know that someone else watches it and they enjoy you and they understand your personality. Because if you're not a reporter or you're an anchor, like the position, like I'm an anchor, so you have to have some of your own personality in there, and then people like some resonates with them about you. That's the part I like. I don't even have no wood I could knock on, but I've never received like really negative feedback from people. I've never been like anything hateful. Well, there was one time, but that surely didn't have nothing to do with me. That had more to do with the state of the world.
Okay.
But to let you resonate with people, and then I always take the time to talk to people. Like, I feel like you are never too good to talk to anybody. That's my philosophy on life. Like, no one's ever too good to talk to you, and no one's ever too good to talk to me. Like, if I want to talk to someone, if Denzel Washington walks through my apartment door, now that'd be crazy.
Right.
But I'd be like, I gotta say something. Well, yeah, of course, he's off the apartment door. But if you saw him anywhere else, like, I would still say something, because no one is above reproach. I always tell myself that. nobody in this world is above reproach. Now,
But
if
there
you
is a
have,
difference between like
yeah,
fandom, you know what I'm saying, where you're
yeah,
fanboying out versus actually trying to talk to you like a human being, which I feel like people like you don't get every day, right? People fantasize about you or whatever on TV, regardless of who it is, right? I think
yeah.
this person's going to be an amazing, nice, they have this image of you, and then when they meet you in person, and it's like, you're
I,
you.
I try to be myself, because if I become somebody else at work or
Yeah,
in my career, people are going to be looking for that outside of that.
yeah,
It's a quote or something. It's like, never meet your heroes or something, because they're
right,
going to disappoint you.
for
So
sure.
I was like, I don't want to. First off, I'm not a good liar. I'm not a good liar. I can't remember my lies. That's why I don't cheat. That's why, like, I'm just not good at that type of stuff. So
Yeah.
I'm like, I just have to be myself, because I just have to, because I
Mm.
can't flip on and off for you when you meet me in public. So like I said, I talk to people like, it's
So you,
funny. This one guy,
real quick, what percentage would you say your on camera persona is compared to who you think you really are in your outside work day? Because I'll tell you, for me,
yeah.
I'm about 30% real at work, and then outside of work, I'm a completely different person.
I think there are aspects of my personality that are 100% at work, and they're
Okay.
exactly what I need to do my job. Like,
Hmm.
being quick on my feet, being quick witted,
Hmm.
being laughing, being really jovial. Those are aspects of my personality that are 100% at work. But I'm probably more like chill in real life.
Hmm.
I suffer from depression and anxiety. So that's a part of myself that nobody sees, because
Hmm.
don't nobody want to see that. They're
Right.
not interested. I'm like, they're not interested in seeing me sad or upset. So
Ah.
people don't see that side of it,
Hmm.
of my personality. So I would think that's probably the only side I can really think of, like when I am dealing with that they
Hmm.
don't see.
Hmm. Are you an extrovert? Like, do you think you're a person that's outward, energy wise?
Oh, definitely. I always say, look, I'm bougie, but I'm not stuck up, which means like I am bougie. I might be like, I'm not going there. I'm not
Right.
sit. Like, Can we wipe this chair down before I sit down? I might do that. I really might. But I will never be like, oh, don't talk to me. Oh,
Right.
don't speak to me. Like, I've literally am friends with so many different people, because I just never had that in my mind. Like, I've met
Hmm.
some of my closest friends just from the fact that I was okay talking to strangers, and that I
Hmm.
didn't really judge people. I made some great connections with people from that, and I won't change it about myself. I've
Hmm.
talked to people who I've been friends with people who others would probably literally walk past
Right.
and not think anything of them. But I've gained things from them. Because I feel like, who am I to be more important to say that I can't talk to somebody? Like, that's super whack. That's
Yeah. Right.
super whack.
Sure. And so when I was looking at your some of your titles, news anchor, producer, it looks like you cover a lot. And I was looking at some of your experiences before. It looks like you can darn near run an entire news agency. It seems like by yourself, just all the things that you've done. Is that typical, dude? And like when I drive by, news trucks setting up, I notice there's only one person setting up, each
Yeah.
camera, and then the whoever is going to be reporting is in their car chilling, waiting for everything to be set up. Has it always been such a small crew? I feel like you just usually like a lot more people.
So one thing in this industry is you need to be able to really be good at multitasking. Like, I always like, you gotta be able to walk and chew gum at the same time, because if you
Mm-hmm.
can't, you're not gonna be able to do it. So for
Mm-hmm.
example, in the shows that I used to do, I was producing them, anchoring them, and running the teleprompter. Like,
Yeah.
nobody saw that and knew that, but that's like a part of it. You have to be able to do multiple things,
Mm-hmm.
and to get it done. And that a lot of that has come from the change in the industry, and how we view media, because
Mm-hmm.
people are not turning on the television to be informed. We're not waiting for the 6 o'clock, the 9 o'clock, the 10 o'clock, or the morning news to catch us up overnight. We don't
Mm-hmm.
need that. We're on a 24-hour news cycle, baby. And we
Right.
don't need
Right.
anybody to wait for television to come on to become informed. And because of that,
Mm.
people now have switched, and we have devices in our hand. We literally have
Right.
knowledge in our hands, like walking around in our back pocket. So because of that 24-hour news cycle, it made broadcasts have to be more competitive, and being more
Mm.
competitive means
You got
that,
to be
hey,
ready to
sometimes
go.
we got to make cuts. You got to be able to do, you got to be able to do more. You have to be more competitive to be in the industry. We have to be more competitive in how we try to get eyeballs on our product, on our digital products, on our news product. Like we have to really like do that. And because of that, and the way, and technology also getting better, the videographers usually gone. See, you live in an area where it's like a bigger market, and the market size only has to do with how many people view your product.
Okay.
So like number one is New York. They have the biggest market size because the most people see that station, right? You know, and so larger stations, you will have a reporter who might be in the car or writing the story or waiting to get live hits or talking to their producer or their news director, whoever, and then they have a videographer. Smaller markets or a lot of mid-sized markets don't have that. So they're MMJs, they're setting up their cameras by themselves. They're like shooting everything by themselves. They're totally, we call it one-man band in the industry. So it's very difficult because I mean, I've been a one-man band or a one-woman band, and you're literally, and it's hard for the ladies because we don't get to wear the most comfortable shoes, and you're out there and you got a big old rolly bag and you're click clacking trying to get your stuff done.
And every guy out there is trying to holler at you while you're trying to do your job.
Not necessarily holler, but they're surely demeaning you. Oh, you're so small. Do you need help with that? And you're like, I don't need help with this. I don't need help with this. And really, you're like, oh, my ankle hurt. My ankle do hurt, but my pride will hurt worse if I take your assistance. Or people always ask. A lot of times they ask women MMJs, where's your cameraman? Where's your cameraman? And that is terrible too, because there are so many videographers that are women that work for major networks, that major news sources. So it's not, so I would just say, you know, it's just me.
And what part of all the things that you do, you think you're most naturally gifted at, of all the tasks that it takes to be good at that job?
It's not fun. It's like, it's kind of going to sound bad, but I really just think like just being myself. Like I think I love journalism. There is definitely an importance of having dedicated journalists in our society, but I am more like joking, laughing, making a quick joke, getting us out to commercial break quickly. I'm really good at naturally understanding timing of the show, because time is so important, because you only have a certain time of programming, and then you have, you know, like commercials, because commercials are how we all getting paid. So you got to get to those commercials when you need to get to them, or you know, you could be cut off, you know, you could be in the middle of talking and you need to rap and you ain't rapped, so you can get cut off. Like, so I think I'm pretty good at naturally moving things along. And when things happen, like stuff happens, that's just life. Stuff
you just
happens.
Gotta roll with it.
I remember one time when I was living in LA and I was doing hosting out there, and we were doing a recap of a show. I can't remember what show it was. And I literally, like a dummy, just a big dummy, spilled a whole cup of water across the entire desk.
Oh no.
I'm moderating the panel. It's a panel. So it's not like I'm on the side and like, you know, they not really looking at me and they can't see it or anything. Like, I'm moderating the panel. In fact, I have to find the clip. It's on YouTube still. So it falls, the producer who's in the booth sees it and he switches to the other camera, and there's water. So I'm just like, yes, and I'm pushing my stuff. I'm using my notebook. I'm literally putting my whole notebook soaking wet. I'm like, to push the water off and try to look at the floor and see like, okay, is there anything electrical over here? Because I can't afford to pay for this stuff if I break it. So, and then you can see our producer runs in, and it's so funny when you see it, you see a white thing like fly by the screen. It's him throwing me a roll of paper towels so I can clean it up. But the conversation still rolled. It's we did it on a video platform and an audio platform. It was a company called AfterBuzz TV, and if you hear the audio, you won't hear it doesn't skip a beat. So I think like really trying to remain calm in those situations. I mean, I've literally been in situations where, okay, you guys, we're 15 seconds out the show and there is nothing in the top of the rundown. Like, there is nothing. And everybody's like, what are we gonna do? And I always thinks of the Mr. Crab meme where he's like going all crazy. Freaking out. That. And I'm like, we don't have time for that, and just kind of like get to it. So I think like maybe just like really working well under pressure is probably my biggest personal trait that really helps me in my job, and just to be good, because it is a lot of pressure and things happen and things are ever changing, and humans make mistakes, and gosh, oh my gosh, sometimes you choke, sometimes you got to cough, and you got to figure out how to get around that.
Right. So you mentioned earlier the with cell phones, everyone having news at their fingertips.
Yeah, for sure.
How do you feel about the state of the news? Are you surprised there's even still local news television shows? I mean, for me, I was completely wrong. I was a sports journalist in high school, and I just remember having a debate with my teacher, just saying that the newspaper will never go away. I think that it's just something about the feeling of having the newspaper in front of you. That's something that I felt that like humans would have forever, and I was clearly wrong. Like I'm glad I didn't make a bet on that, right? Because
Yeah, you would have lost.
I think a lot of newspaper companies are even out of business today. I think most people can just get all the information from. I get all my information from Twitter, to be honest.
Or they're moving to digital platforms,
Right.
like making sure their social media is really up to date.
Right.
Like having it like subscriptions based that you can just like kind of log in, and that's
Right.
how you read the articles and whatnot.
Right. So how do you feel about, what you thought you were going to get into when you were in college versus now, how everything is formed? Are you surprised there's even still local news stations and on television? People aren't even watching TV anymore. People are cutting cords now.
I think a lot of times in society that we just do things because we do them. We do things because we just do them. Like I'll use this example. At Christmas time, my mom would always put oranges in our stocking. And I was like, why you putting oranges in our, like I used to, I'm not gonna be rude. Like if like, what are you giving this thing for? But I used to think to myself, like, why? Like, like she would give it so it was normal. And then as I got a little older, I was like, why would she do that? Like I didn't understand.
Yeah.
And then I later found out that used to be a treat for people because oranges were expensive or hard to get depending upon what area them. So it was a treat. But because I had asked her and she was like, I don't know why. Like it just, I don't know, my parents did it. So so it was just like traditional for her to do it. And she didn't even know why. So in saying that, I think sometimes people just do the same things over and over again, not really understanding necessarily why they're doing it or how it even is benefiting them to still do it. So it's going to be a very long time before we see local news or anything phase out, because people do really want local news. Like being a local news like producer, anchor, like people want that. Like they get upset when there's too much national news in their newscast. Like they don't like that. Like they'll call up like, I could just watch the other news. I could just watch the regular news. Like they'll call up and like I'm not watching y'all no more. Y'all never talk about us. And I'm just like, oh, okay, like, I understand. Like I feel your pain. Like, and I'm just on the other end of the phone. Like I totally get you. I don't even disagree with you. Like I totally think you're right. Like, so there is a need for that. So I don't think it's ever going to go away, but there is something that it's going to evolve to. And a lot of these smaller markets are in smaller towns where there's a lot of socioeconomical issues and they don't have access to like your phone. Like they might not even have a phone like that. Like that's that nice or that updated or understand or have digital literacy is a huge problem in the state of Louisiana. I cannot stress enough. People literally just don't know how to use that resource at all. So you don't know how to use something, you don't even pay it any attention. So local news, I think, will still exist in some way, shape, or form. Not sure how that's going to happen. I will hope that digital literacy will increase in our schools. I'm prayerful. I don't say hopeful because I think prayer requires action. I'm prayerful about that changing, but until like it's bigger changes in other parts of our society, like I don't think that's going to go anywhere. However, in more like metropolitan or like more in like cities, I think that a lot of people they're switching more to digital. Like they're really making that push for digital. Like how Sirius radio is like so huge now because people are like, okay, no, I just don't need to listen to regular radio. I can listen and see who I want to talk to and pick who I want to talk to. But as I talk and say this, I kind of think maybe that could be dangerous.
Right.
Because you're only subscribing to and listening to people who have these same exact opinions as you and who gather and perceive information in a viewpoint that you want, which is
you
biased.
Saw was the issue with the issue was what happened this year, which before we jump to the beginning, I do want to ask that. I mean, 2020 must have been the greatest year to be in news ever.
It was so fun.
So that's what I'm saying. So, I mean, number one, I obviously I don't know the makeup of your newsroom that you were working at, but I know for me, I had a number of my white friends reach out to me back in March when America discovered that racism was a thing, and and
racism is still here.
No,
I'm
not still
calling left
here.
of
No,
Dr.
not
Martin
still
Luther
here.
King Jr.
Racism exists. They didn't believe, this that
Oh.
much, right? To that point, I didn't know. Right, it was before I'm crazy. All the things I'm saying that's happened to me, and now, it took March for all those things to finally be
It took
validated.
let's not say March. Let's call it what it is. It took George Floyd.
Not just George Floyd, but yes, George Floyd, the bird watcher in New York.
It was a
string.
string of
Yes.
people that is happening at Mount Arbery. You had Breonna Taylor. Like
Right.
I
Right.
tell people all the time that experience was so rough
Mm.
because every day, like almost every day, there's this thing called OTS, a little image that pops up next to an anchor.
Mhm.
Every day you have this
Right.
face over
Right.
here and you're talking about them, in my personal opinion, being unjustifiably murdered
Right.
for whatever reason by
knowing
whoever.
nothing's going to happen.
But the reason was that because their melanin did something to you. It made you lose your mind. And just having that there and being like, this is a person in my community, having to continuously say that as a black woman who has a big fro on TV, it that's like heartbreaking, to be honest with you. My first day at the desk, it was crazy. My first day at the desk was when Kobe Bryant died.
Yo.
That was my first.
Gosh.
That was my first day on air. I remember getting my hair done on Sunday. Like, oh, my first day on air. I'm so excited.
Right.
My dream. I've been wanting to do since I was 5. And I'm in a shampoo bowl. Like, why Twitter? Hold on. Twitter going up on a Sunday? What's going on? I was like, and so he was trending. So I was like, he's trending. I was like, I said, what Kobe didn't do? He released some sneakers or like something happened.
Right.
And for that to be the very first day was that was rough. And then it never got easier.
No,
it just never got easier.
You said, because that happened early in January, and I remember saying like, wow, like
January 26th.
It can't get much worse than that. And literally it's my fault that 2020 happened, because it got much worse than that. But I remember my first day at my job that I work at now, was 4 years ago, was the day of the election results when Trump won office. And so like water cooler talk everybody was so uneasy. I worked with a bunch of, I would say, woke, my whole team was all like woke white women. And so I've never woke white women. I've never seen, stay with me here. I've never seen so many distraught white people in my life altogether. Just can you believe that America would do this? And I was like, me and my other black friend were like,
we saw that coming. We was already like, that's about to happen. Like we were like, oh yeah, that's gonna happen. Like,
could you imagine America would do this? Like, yeah, hello.
It's very much on brand.
So take me through that year. I mean, I know how hard it was for me, but we want to hear about you. I mean, you're having to compose yourself every day. You can't be crying. You can't just take a sick day because you don't feel like it. I mean, what was like Kobe Bryant.
And then on top of that, having like dealing with my own mental health issues and having to turn it on every morning is difficult too. That was rough. It just never got easier, like every single day. And then after Kobe Bryant, it was this thing out in Wuhan, China.
Right.
And I was like, coronavirus. I was like, am I pronouncing this right? I'm like, well, I know I say corona, but I guess, is this correct? Like, you know, and it was just some random thing that came from a bat or something. And
I took it
was just like, I took it super lightly. I took it super, super lightly. If you want to find out the chronological order, it's going to piss you off real bad. If you want to find out the chronological order of how coronavirus came to America, then you should watch Totally Under Control. It's on Hulu. You got Hulu? I'll give you my password if you ain't got it.
I got Hulu, yeah.
Okay. So it's called Totally Under Control, and it gives a chronological breakdown of how the coronavirus came, and it stops at, the funny part is it stops at when the former president got coronavirus. That's the end of the documentary. So pretty much it was poetic justice. It was like at the last day of filming this documentary, President Trump announced he had coronavirus. So I was like, oh my goodness, you can't write this stuff. You can't write it. I mean, or though some people might have wrote it, because honestly, this year, it was like, I was like, am I in a Twilight Zone? I feel like I'm in a movie.
Right.
Because, you know, all these people getting like, it's reporting on the deaths, the unjustified, horrible, disgusting ways that people in my community died. And then also knowing that I already knew all that and kind of trying to regulate my emotions as to why are y'all so shocked? It was kind of pissing me off a little bit because like, why y'all acting like y'all just so flabbergasted about this? And that little black square pissed me off super bad.
Oh my gosh, I was so cynical about that black square.
That performative black square irks my, like, that's probably the most number one thing on Instagram that gets on my nerves. It's Instagram history. First it was that egg that got like 1 million something views, which is an egg, and I was like, y'all are really ridiculous. But I went ahead and liked it because I was like, I don't want to be left out. I thought that was stupid. I was like, that's the dumbest thing ever. And then these little black squares came about, and I was like,
on Instagram, for people that don't know,
not only did you put up these black squares, but you put Black Lives Matter. So what you did was you basically blacked out all the information that people could get to see it. Like, what does this? Oh dear. Why? Like, why? I don't understand. And then you have, and then every day. So at the peak of coronavirus, every single day, it was like, this many people died today in this state, this many people died, this how many cases that we have. And every day, each number was climbing and climbing and climbing and climbing. And you have people there telling, oh, that's not real. It's fake news, not wearing their mask. Like it's just like, it was just a lot. It was just like so much. And it's very annoying. I'm going to say as a journalist, period, because it's like, yo, I'm bringing you facts. Don't beat my facts with your interpretation of reality. I'm telling you what's actually happening. Your friends and your family are going to die.
Yeah. The politicalization of everything and
that's where it went left. He just put on the mask. I guess he didn't want to mess up his makeup.
Well, it wasn't even just about the mask, but just the way he pumped the false information. I think that there are some positive outcomes that could come from what happened in the last 4 years, and that people are going to start thinking for themselves a little bit more, right? But in the terms of, there was information being pumped to people before that people just kind of took and just said, oh, this is how it is, we're going to do this, as opposed to maybe questioning. Because I think that's kind of what happened with, for example, another extreme example, George Zimmerman and Trayvon Martin, right? And the narrative was put out there, and I watched the court case the whole time, and they painted this young African-American child as this large, overpowering, it's a 10-year-old kid, right? And I watched the whole entire news case, and they did everything just to make this kid seem like
villainize him, just make him a villain.
And people just, okay, and then it went away. Nothing happened. You know what I'm saying? And so that's
and rest in peace to him. He would have been 26 years old this year. Only 26 years old. Imagine, like, he would have just turned 26. It literally is like gut wrenching to think about it. You think like Tamir Rice, you think about Sandra Bland. I died on my birthday. Like, I literally don't go, there's not a year that goes by that I wake up and like, it's my birthday. I always like, that Black woman just got killed. Like, they killed her. And it's not even just that someone dies. It's that there's no kind of repercussion at all, or there's none that is equivalent to the original offense of murder, of killing somebody. Like, if I say police involved shooting one more time, I'm gonna have a bald patch on this side of my head. I'm ripping my hair out.
All right. Let's be real here. Okay, there's two questions. Let's just be real here. Number one, if you're able to separate your emotions, was it a fun year to be in the news? Like, is this like almost like the all-star of years to be working in the news industry, taking emotions aside?
I think if you're a good journalist, you don't take emotions to the side. I think you care about the people, your audience. You care about keeping them safe. You care about keeping them informed, and you have to be passionate about that. And passion is an emotion. But I guess if you want to put stuff on your reel, if you want to be like, look at me talking about
covering the bombings in Fallujah, or
look at me covering this thing or that thing, and it's like, that might be good, but it's only a personal gain.
Right.
It's not a gain for everyone else. It's a personal gain because, you have experience maybe covering these major topics, or you can look back at your career and say, oh, I did that. Like, I can sit here and be like, okay, the first day on the desk was Kobe Bryant. Yeah, that might be monumental and it sticks out in my mind. Yeah. But it doesn't stick out in my mind because I think it's positive. I didn't clip that. I didn't keep that.
Right. And so give me your beat on, again, you're going to generalize for me, and I understand it's coming from your perspective, but give me your beat on when there's obviously news stories you have to cover, right? Kobe Bryant's passing, George Floyd being killed, like, you have to cover those stories. But then it just seems like sometimes there are there's an inundation of just negative stories being
Yeah.
covered. Does this weigh heavy on the other folks that you notice that you report with, or they just kind of have they turned that off? That just desensitizing and like do the producers have to pick those stories to report on all the time?
I think that when people stay in this industry for a really long time, for the people that I've met, granted, I've met the people who've been in the industry a very long time and been stationary and been at smaller stations and only
Hmm.
stayed there. I haven't really experienced working with people who maybe like have gone on and moved up and moved around and done
Hmm.
that and had a career where they're more fluid and have
Hmm.
experienced more things. But people are very cynical in news. People
Mm.
in news have to have a kind of dark sense of humor.
Right.
um I find that, yeah, people just are really, they're just really cynical,
Mm.
because they've seen so much. And then you have to remember too, like, it's not even just what gets to your television, it's what I have to look at that doesn't make it, like what's on the
Mm.
cutting room floor. Like,
Wow.
so it's not even just about knowing what I'm telling you.
Hmm.
I'm knowing about a whole bunch of stuff
Mm.
that and then I have to decide what information is most important for my specific audience.
Hmm.
So I don't have the luxury of getting to, you learn, about it all.
Mm.
And then it's difficult. It's not something that's easy. I think people, and it makes people cynical. It makes them really cynical. And I know it makes a lot of people really depressed. There's a lot, like, no one really talks about mental health in
Hmm.
journalism, like,
No.
enough. Like, I really feel like you need to give journalists, especially young journalists in their first jobs, like, they need, like, that needs to be a part of, like, the health benefits, like, even specifically for them, because it's rough. A lot of people are living by themselves,
Hmm.
super far away from home,
Hmm.
with maybe little to no support system as far as,
Hmm.
like, interaction with people or somebody that can, like, be there for them. And then on top of that, they're going out and doing all of these things. Like, it's a dangerous job, like, for
Mm.
your mental, and also, physically it could be a dangerous job because
Mm.
like I said, MMJs are out there by themselves
Right.
oftentimes, and sometimes in the dark, sometimes in inclement weather.
Right.
And then you have, people who are absolutely crazy and
Right.
stalk you, call the station and threaten you. That's happened. And so it's a dangerous job, but it can make you really cynical. I'm trying my best to maintain me
Hmm.
throughout all of this,
Hmm.
because I can't lose myself. Because if I lose myself, I'll lose the reason why I even started to do this. I'll lose my why.
Oh
I'll
my
lose
God, you're
that
so good
passion for
with these
that.
segues. Oh my God, you're leading into my next question. You're perfect at this.
Oh, thank you.
So I'm gonna read this sentence.
Okay.
And then we're gonna jump back from the back. So Felicia has always had an interest in broadcast and communication since a young age. She grew up idolizing the local news anchors in the greater Philadelphia area of Glassboro, New Jersey, seeing how big of a role that the news media played in reporting important information to the daily lives of its viewers. This sparked her interest in the field.
Yeah.
So
So
from an
the
early
reason,
age, yeah. Go ahead.
from I remember watching the news at like 4 or 5 years old. Yeah. And I
Okay.
remember it was a news anchor out of Philadelphia. She's like a Philly legend. Her name's Lisa Thomas Laurie.
Hmm.
And she looked like my mom to me. Like, my mom is like a fair skinned black woman. She has like light, like hazel eyes.
Hmm.
And Lisa Thomas Laurie has green eyes, but she just looked like my mom to me. I'm little, I don't know, I'm like 4 or 5. I'm like, she looks like my mom. And
Yeah.
I remember thinking, oh my gosh, she's so beautiful and she's so smart. She's so smart. Look how she's talking. Like, she knows everything. Like, that's why I thought, she knows everything. And I was like, I want to do that. And I remember going to try to write down her name on
Yeah.
what I now know is lower thirds. And then it popped down, and I remember, like, just being so upset because I now fell in love with this person on television, and now I don't even know her name. Like, I was so upset about it. And then
Uh-huh.
my mom told me, Felicia, the news comes on every day. And I was
Yeah.
like, she do this
Oh.
every day? What? She do this every day? And then she used to, like, do a lot of the human interest and, like,
Mm.
people stories in Philadelphia. And I think that also is kind of like what makes me be more interested in, like, lifestyle reporting and that
Mhm.
kind of realm, more so than, like, super, super hard journalism. Like, I'm not the girl who wants to, like, chase the ambulance and the fire truck. And, like, that's not me. But that's probably because of Lisa Thomas Laurie, just seeing her do that. Fun fact about Lisa Thomas Laurie. Now, I don't know if it's a fact. Let me take it back. It's a fun rumor
Uh-huh.
about Lisa Thomas Laurie, is
Yeah.
that Oprah was up for that seat, up for that spot,
Yeah.
and Lisa Thomas Laurie got it. And unfortunately, they say colorism might have been at play there. So that's a rumor I heard. I don't know if that's true or not, but I do wonder.
So you've never had an opportunity to meet her?
I'm like too scared. Like I'm literally too nervous because I thought to myself like, oh, she's like written a best-selling book, like she's like done all this stuff, and I'm like, maybe I should just like reach out to her. I met her son, and I was like, I didn't even say anything. I didn't say nothing. I was like, your mom is really cool, and like I left it at that because I didn't want to be like a narc. I didn't want to be like, oh yeah, let's go. I didn't want to like be a nerd, like who, and like I didn't want to do all that, like be a hype beast and like be all extra. So I was like, let me just remain calm, and I was like, this is the closest I'm gonna get, I guess. And I remember she spoke at a graduation for this community college that one of my church members went to, and she finished the speech, and like literally I stood up and was clapping, and like just like I don't think anybody else stood up. It was clapping for me. And I remember she was just like in this really inspirational speech, and I was like, yes.
That's so amazing.
Like I can do that, and I just wanted to do that. And I was just like, I just want to be Lisa Thomas Laurie. Like, I just want to be her.
So from that 4-year-old girl, you up until high school, I saw that you worked, you were doing the PA announcements, and you're doing like the news at your high school.
Yeah.
Is that your earliest experience, or were you doing stuff before?
I was like, oh, I'll be behind the camera. I don't want to be in front of the camera. Mm-hmm. So I was like, I guess you call it kind of like a stage manager. I was just like behind the scenes, and also in news and in that arena, the people who are behind the scenes really have more power. So like, please stop getting mad at people on air. They don't have that much power. The people behind the scenes really have power. And so like, I kind of liked that in high school. I was like, yep, I'm in charge. Like I kind of like that. Yeah. And I used to do the morning announcements. So my job was to go to people's classrooms and be like, so-and-so needs to come with me. She has morning announcements this morning. Like that was my job. Like
how did you have the bravery to do that in high school? Because I always loved entertainment growing up, but like you said, in the plays, I was always the stage stuff. I was like tree number 3. But I always loved helping the writing portion and practice and everything. But I never wanted to be in front of stage. That was too scary for me.
I didn't do it in high school. So our announcements, like I just would get the people and they would do it. Like I was just like in charge of like keeping the list straight, like the schedule together. And like, that was like kind of like my job. Yeah. And that's what I did. I was like, okay, I need this person. They're doing announcements today. Like that would be like kind of keeping everything in order and doing that. And letting other people just kind of shine, I guess. Yeah. I wasn't really like I can't dance and stuff. I'm like, can't like, I was really insecure. I think it's like the insecurity of it all was like, I'm good. Like I'm straight. Yeah. I'm all right. I'm gonna do my assignment. And if I have to get in front of the camera, I did TV tech. It was the class in our high school, and Mr. Gallen, a black teacher, was just literally the absolute best, like teacher, mentor. Like he did the very best with what he had, which was limited technology that really was not, now I realize was not as up to date as it needed to be, but we had more than other people. So I'm grateful for that. He had talent from that school go on to produce at ABC, to work in national stations. And so when I would see those people hang up in his office, I just wanted to be like that. And Mr. Gallen like was just literally the absolute best teacher. He was most mild mannered. He just was like all about respect. He always called us Miss and Mr. He always, he never said like Felicia or like, he never said our first names. He always addressed us by Miss or Mr. and our last names.
Yeah. So another guy that reminds me of that, and we're gonna get to that right now, but how did Penn State come up on the radar?
Me being stupid and young.
Were there other options for you?
Yeah, I had applied. I did like a walk-up job fair thing. I got into like Virginia State University, and I just did that because not job fair, career fair. College fair. Wow. Yeah. See, I'm really old. College fair, and I did that just because they were giving out T-shirts, and that day he had ran out of T-shirts, and I was mad. Yeah. And then I applied to Northwestern, did get in there, and I applied for the wrong reasons.
So all for journalism school, right? Because Northwestern is one of the best, or had one of the best journalism schools.
So the funny thing about that, I was going into college as an education major.
Okay.
And I was my plan was to be an English teacher because I love language, I love words, I love all that stuff. And I love kids. So I was like, I'll be an English teacher. I will go get my master's and I'll become a not like eventually be a superintendent, like, go to like teacher, principal or vice principal, and then on to superintendent. Like that was my goal. And it's crazy enough, I had another teacher. I just had really, really great educators at my school. I mean, not all of them were great. I mean, just keep it like that. But the ones I had,
the ones that lasting memories or positive memories,
are great. Yeah. Her name is Miss Little, and Miss Little, I told Miss Little I got into Penn State. I'm going to college. I'm doing X, Y, and Z, and she was like, "Oh," and I was like, "Hold up, Miss Little!" Like, and this is like the first white person in my life who talked to me about what socioeconomical issues meant, like about race, about sexuality, about she was the sociology and psychology teacher, so she really like broke down different intersections of society. We talked about interracial date, like she talked to me about a lot of different topics. And she explained explained in her best way a lot of things to me. She's like, that's a woke white woman. If I ain't ever been a woke white woman, it is her. Okay. And she was just like, I don't know, Felicia. And I was like, what you mean you don't know? I just told you. What don't you know? Because I'm 17 and I'm from New Jersey and I got an attitude. I'm like, what don't you know? I just told you. And she's like, I just kind of see you doing something a little more glamorous.
Wow.
Pissed me off. I left that classroom. I was so mad at her. I was so angry with her. And now I have to bite my tongue, and I still do talk to her. I had texted her a few years back, and I was like, yeah, you're right. Why I chose Penn State was because literally like my childhood best friend was going there. I had no sense of direction now that I think back on it. Like I really was a lost cause maybe until like 6 years ago.
Yeah. Nah. I mean, so for me, my woke white woman was 8th grade. I think it was a media studies teacher, and I just remember her. I don't know, for some reason, all year, white woman. She just always took a liking to me. Of course, the school I went to was like one of 10 black kids, and she was always just like, she just always would give me a little bit extra tips on my projects, or she may come up and talk to me during class, and I was just like, what? Like it always felt weird to me. And I remember one time she had this conversation. And we were talking about America, and she said, you know what? I think I made a black joke. I was big into black jokes back then. And
and who's going to stop you from making them? All the white people?
It's exactly, you know what I'm saying? Exactly. So she came up to me, she said, you know what? I wouldn't be so cynical. There's a senator out of Chicago, I think that would maybe the next president. It's going to be Obama. Crazy.
And you said 8th grade.
That's 8th grade, so that's way. So that's some real. That's 4 years before.
That's foresight. That is some foresight. Wow.
Yeah, wow. I found out her daughter was married to a black guy too, so I was like, oh, a lot more makes sense. So this runs in the family.
It sounds like she understood equity versus equality, and a lot of people do not understand that. And I'm not even just white people, like just people in general. They just think, oh, okay, well. Everybody gets $1. Everybody gets $1.
Right.
And that's equal. So everybody's equal and we're all good, right? Like, no, we're actually not. Yeah. Because before I can even go to spend my $1, something over here has impeded me being able to do that. And now I'm negative $1 and you still have 50 cents.
Right.
And you don't have those same challenges that will make you be negative $1. So equity is giving me $2 so that I can have
the same amount as you. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, she was always and always talked to me like a person, right? Didn't talk to me like a black kid, or it wasn't like what's that movie where the teacher goes into the hood?
There's numerous ones. Is it Michelle Pfeiffer or is it Hilary Swank? Which one is it?
Exactly. But exactly. So okay,
it's about right.
Yes. It's bus, something with the bus, right? Or Freedom Riders.
No. Freedom Riders, yes, it did have a bus. You're right.
Yeah. And then Penn State for me was the only school in the East Coast I applied to. I wanted to work for ESPN, and I saw that they had all these ties with ESPN. They had one of the top sports journalism. Yes. So that's why I applied. And I remember meeting Dean Seldon, who that's what I was going to talk to you about. You remember Dean Seldon?
Yes, I remember Dean Seldon.
Oh, interesting.
Dean Seldon was like,
yeah.
it's time for you to grow up. You're not being very mature. You need to grow up.
Yes.
I was like, what? He's like, you need to grow up. You over here. He's like, what is this? He was like, okay, if you get I remember Dean Seldon owes me a peach cobbler. I need to find him and send him an email. Because he said if I got to be on my I think it's 405, it was the criminal it was like the not criminal but the journalism law class, which is hard because law is hard, period. So
right.
Journalism law class, and that class was hard. He's like, if you get a B, my wife's gonna make you a peach cobbler, and I never got my cobbler. I just realized that.
Oh my God, it was Dean Seldon, and I remember Malcolm Moran being like a very influential person in the journalism.
And don't forget Gary too. Gary worked in that.
How could I forget? Gary is the reason why I am who I am today. My first semester, I tried way too hard. I was a Buttonwaller scholarship, so I had all this pressure to maintain my GPA up. I was trying way too hard. I had no friends. I was out there by myself. And I was just making myself sick, to be honest. I almost transferred, and Gary, man, Gary is the reason why I am who I am today, straight up. He pulled me to his office one day, and he wasn't even my counselor, you know, and I was just rambling on about something, and he was just like, stop. He just told me, stop, sit down. He said, Ox, yo, he said, I'm concerned, bro. Like, he's like, I know you don't go to church, and I'm not even going to tell you to do that. And I forget the exact words he told me, but he's like, basically, he's like, you are here. You don't need to prove anything to anybody. Be yourself. Enjoy yourself. Have fun. And for whatever reason, I took that advice and thought that meant go party.
When you started partying, your grades went up.
When I started partying, my grades went all the way up. And I have a negative correlation association with partying and success. Yeah, I'm like, if I do this, then that's gonna come later. Right, exactly. Not the other way around. You're supposed to be successful and then party. But no, yeah, Gary Abdullah, like, man, I still talk to that guy, and he will always be undervalued. Just how much he has to offer people.
Seriously, and he's since moved up in position in the college, but still, I just like, there's just not enough, you know, Carlos and Paul Robinson Center. Like, it's just so many. Heroes on that campus that do not. First off, I wouldn't have known anything about social justice had it not. They took us on a retreat. I was like, it was crazy because I was like, I never thought in my life I would be experiencing any of the things that I did there. And I mean, and I was not a good student. In fact, I was a terrible student. And I still had these great experiences, but not because of my institution. I'm sorry. I don't feel like it was like my institution went out of their way to make a way for that to happen. I think it was the people that they hired made a way for those things to happen for us, and look out for us, and just be there for our student body. The person if Gary saved you, Enos Meyerhose saved me.
Oh yeah, I know Enos, yeah.
And I don't know what about me that she saw, because I literally don't, I don't know what she saw in me, but that she saw, I wrote a paper in the paper, I was like, I hate white people. And I wrote it, and well, why I wrote it was because, and I told you this story before, I was in another class and they had put up a video about Negro spirituals and the history of slavery, and how the Black church is correlated to how slaves would worship on Sundays. And this white girl was laughing, and I looked at her and I was like, okay, like, cut it out. And then she didn't stop. And I'm not going to say what I said. I'm not going to say what I said fully, but I looked at her again, and I may or may not have physically threatened her. And then because I grew up in in a town that there is diversity, and there was just none at Penn State. I think at the time we were there, 70% of the campus identified as white, and that's 30% all the rest of us. So it was too much. I was overwhelmed. I was dealing with that, and then I think her laughing made me think that they were all laughing at me, and it was lonely, and it hurt, and I felt disrespected, and I demeaned, because what they're talking about is the Black church that I grew up in. So yes, I can see the correlation, but you're laughing. But I mean, no grown ass man's putting a wafer in my mouth. But if we want to laugh at stuff, cool, whatever. Yeah. But and it hurt. And when I expressed that and I wrote in the paper and I said that, she was like, she wrote in the paper, see me after the class. I said, oh, I didn't got an F. I failed.
Right.
And she was like, I just wanted to check on you. Like, are you okay? And that's when I first understood that America, totally the rest of the world totally different. Totally different when it comes to race. Completely different experiences, completely different views on race, almost like completely different way they handle it. Right. And she understood, and she took me under her wing. I was a TA for her for like 2 or 3 semesters, and she just really looked out for me. She's just a really great person.
You know, it's people like Gary and Enos, like you talked about. I like really want to do what I can to give back to the future leaders of tomorrow. I mean, I see the opportunities that I had, and I see the people, and I went to high school with it, I went to college with it, just didn't have that Gary or that Enos there, you know what I'm saying? And,
that person for
that
sure.
person there. And, you know, one of the jobs that I had in my current job, I was able to be a intern program manager. And that was honestly like one of the most fulfilling things I've ever done, being able to work with kids who want to be there, right? You're not working at like a boys and girls club or something, or where these kids have to be there and they're put there. And, you know, I got to work with kids that want to do well and they want to listen. So obviously I had the easier batch of children.
You had their ear already. That was half the battle.
Ear, but that was so fun. But, you know, Penn State, going to a high school where I was one of 10 Black kids, Penn State, where you're in a classroom of 800 people and you're one of maybe 3 Black kids.
And gosh, don't let them ask about what is the Black perspective. Don't let it be a discussion.
Everybody just look up at you.
and this is the other part for me. Growing up, I was in a very diverse community, but I would get flack about being like light skinned. I would get flack from Black people about being light skinned like my whole life. And then all of a sudden, I was like Wesley Snipes to these people. Like I was like, oh, okay. I mean, yes, like I don't have to like they saw the Blackness immediately. Like they weren't like, are you mixed with something? Like you got anything in your family? No, they was like oh, can I curse on here?
Of course, but it's your career though. It's your career though.
Okay, then that's a good point. Appreciate that. Good looking out. Protect Black women, yes.
Always, that's my job. But you know, the reflection of how that college was to what America was, that was my crash course to learning about white culture, to be honest. I mean, there are people from the countryside, there's people from the city, there's people from New York, there's people from Hoboken, there's people from Pittsburgh, you know, Ohio. I still haven't figured out Ohioans, but there's Florida. There's all different types of whites and Blacks and Latinos. There's Dominicans. I didn't know Dominicans. All I knew in California was Mexican, right? It's Puerto Rican.
Oh wow, yeah.
You know, so that was my crash course into humans, really. And you know, while it was really tough going through it, I'm so appreciative of those experiences, because I'll tell you, when I went into the professional world, you know, like I could chop it up with every one of them. I had a story that I could fit in, and I know you can kind of relate to this, because I feel like your news team, you guys got to have some chemistry. You got to build chemistry, even if you don't, even if you can't stand that person, you got to have chemistry on camera, right?
I'm really lucky that the people that I work with on camera has genuinely been a connection with them outside of that. So I haven't experienced that, which I'm very grateful for. But that's because I do go out of my way to try to understand, especially like people have to be on, you know, because people can see it. The audience can see and pick it up when you don't like somebody. It's clear. It's clear that you don't like them. It's like quite obvious. So I try to go out my way to like really look at them as a person and find things that I like about them. I think what I gained from Penn State was really just understanding that I don't know about the world, and there's so much more that I need to learn about people, and that I need to be open to it. Because had Enos not pulled me out of, like, say, kept me behind out of class, like I don't know what my perspective would be on people, and it could have been really negative, and then that could have impeded relationships that I have with people that I greatly love and care about and respect. I might not even have been able to get to the place to do that with them, you know, to even trust them that they look at me and see value, because not everybody is the same, and not every white person is racist, and not everybody's like that. Some people are just realizing that there's a problem, but that's by design.
Yeah, right.
It's by design that it looks like it's fine. It's by design that we see civil rights pictures in black and white when they had colored TVs and cameras back then. It's by design. So I cannot be mad at you for, it's like that movie Pleasantville. That's a great example of it. That movie Pleasantville, I don't know if you ever saw it, when everything was in black and white, and then they became enlightened and they were in color. Yeah. I think that's literally kind of a great example of what's happening for people
in America,
and it's clear, and you can see it. You can see who's still black and white, and who's looking vivid and in color, and who's been enlightened from their Facebook pages usually.
My outlook on racism completely changed my freshman year. I'll never forget this moment. Our freshman floor, first of all, Pennypacker, for those that don't know, that was the dorm where they stuck all the minority, Black and Latino engineers and scholarship students. And then they filled the dorms with the rest of the engineering students. So that means the rest meaning white. So our floor was made up of, again, all African-American, Latinos, and then, white smart kids, engineering students. And our floor got really close really quickly, to be honest. And there were just a few kids on the floor that always seemed to treat me weird. And I was the one that kind of ventured over to the white side. I was the one that was, I'm from California. I see everybody the same. So, but there was always these two kids that just always...
Oh yeah, I forget. You don't see color.
Right. We're doing so good right now. We can talk about that later. So there were always two kids that always treated me weird. And I remember one night we all came home from going out, and I guess, we all sat in one kid's room. We were watching, late night TV. We talked about our Friday night, and these two kids just kind of like, they said, "Hey, Ox, just honestly, man, like, I'm sorry we've treated you weird, and just want to call that out. You're the first Black person we've ever met in person."
I'm not shocked by that.
That's crazy to me, though, at first. And then I realized they're not racist. They just that's ignorant. That's not racist. There's a complete difference.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, literally, I remember there was he's a friend, but he's a really good friend, but he was at campus, and I went to a branch first, and Penn State has like a whole bunch of branches. And he had never went to school with Black women. So he was literally salivating every single day. Like every day, this man, he should have just wore a bib. He was like salivating over Black women because he was just like, I am so in awe. I've never seen these women up close. Like, I mean, he wasn't like disrespectful, but like about just, he was like, like do really crazy stuff, and like he was really super outgoing, so everybody like they loved him. But so it's like one way or another, you know, like in your instance, these people, they were nervous and scared, and in his instance, he just jumped in head first, like, yes, I'm gonna hang out with y'all, because I didn't get to, I never got to hang out with y'all before. Y'all cool, like he just really great. Like, it was really awesome. So, but I did definitely meet people who were like, you're my first Black friend.
Right. Well, no, keep trying, because I'm not gonna be the one. I feel bad for these kids, because I
don't want to break your Black friend virginity.
That's what I'm saying.
Want that to be me.
Plus, I'm not the full experience. I feel like I'm the Coke Zero.
I don't want anyone. Why are you diet Black?
I'm diet Black. Like I just feel like, what they think they're about to get, they ain't about to get with me. I feel bad. They can get that with someone else.
Like you can't freestyle.
No, right. Oh, don't start. Oh, I hated that when the freestyle started. I go to the bathroom. My stomach hurt. I hated the freestyles, man. That's the one thing I can't do. I can tell jokes, but I can't rap. It's so embarrassing.
That is absolutely hilarious, though. Yeah, and also I didn't want to be like, I didn't want to be like, I'm not racist. I have Black friends. I didn't want to be the. No, I didn't want to be. I didn't want to be it. Yeah.
You're the Black friend. I'm not racist. I didn't want to be like, I'll call Felicia right now.
Like, please don't. And I'm a Isha. Oh yeah.
All right. Wait. Last college question, because we're getting that time right now. Yeah. This is a trick question, so there is a right and wrong answer. Best class you took at Penn State?
Best class?
Yeah.
I didn't do good in none of them. I don't know.
Social 19 is the answer.
I didn't take that class.
You got to go back, and you messed up.
We kind of touched on this. We kind of touched on this in our personal lives and conversations.
A pre-brief. In our pre-brief.
You were. I didn't know that's what we were doing.
Is that what you call it?
No, it was a personal conversation. It was just a regular conversation.
Okay.
Not this type of format. I hear you. I see you. I believe it was performative. I think people went because they were curious, because everybody else was there. It's the black squares for me all over again, but it's the white people filling up the seats and people can't get into the dang on class because they never. But I get it. Like they didn't know. Maybe they didn't. I think people just really wanted to see what it was about. It was like the hype of it all. I think when they like, oh yeah, I'm in Social 119. Yeah, I'm in Social 119. It was like, there are other sociology classes that you can take on this campus that also talk about these issues. I'm just saying, or there's community theory classes. Like I was in CAS. You can go to take a CAS class, study community theories, and learn things about. Learn even deeper things about race and how we connect as human beings. You could do that. If you were truly interested, there were other resources for you besides just sitting in a crowded class, all hot. Catching a cold. So there.
Okay. So you get an internship while you're in school with the Big Ten Network. Is that right?
Yeah, I did.
You didn't like that?
No.
You're not like a sports person.
No, actually, I used to host a sports show. I developed and created a sports show. You can watch it on Complex.
Okay. Plug yourself. Go ahead.
No. That's a joke because I had that show for like months and then Complex did the same version of my show.
That happens a lot, right? I bet that happens a lot because it's easy to steal stuff, right?
I was like, you could just have hired me as a producer. Like you could have brought me on. Like you could have you could have gave me a job. I ain't even trying to be on front of the camera. Like you could have just, and then you picked Gilbert Arenas and Mila Khalifa. This is how the show started. My show was Out of Bounds with Felicia Michelle. And it was like a merge of sports and sports and sports gossip basically. And this is prior to even like TMZ doing TMZ sports. So this is like, I merged those two worlds together and did that. And then I was getting, people were commenting. They were hitting me up and they were like, this your show? Girl, this you? Like they were like literally in the comments, like tagging me. Like
I'm embarrassed to say that I've watched that show.
And stuff.
Yeah, I'm embarrassed to say I've watched that show.
I mean, it's transformed to like a different platform and stuff like that. But it literally was the same when I had a male co-host. It was like literally like the same kind of concept. Man. And so I was just like, you know what? I'm cool with it because it let me know that the way I think is along the right lines. And to trust what I think is right. Because somebody else is obviously thinking these are good ideas.
Right.
It just sucks. If I had the platform that I have kind of now, I think maybe it would have been more like responsive to people, like more people would have saw that. But because I maybe had like 2,000 followers at the time, maybe like 1,500, nothing like that. Yeah, it's really hard. So I was just like, but y'all could have hired me as a producer. Like, come on now.
That's such a great way to look at that.
I don't blame Complex because literally this could just be somebody who worked there scrolling through and been like, oh hey, I have a great idea.
Yeah, no, honestly, that's such a positive way to look at that.
I stole from this little girl in New Jersey.
No, that's a really positive way to look at that. But with that, then one of my favorite questions to ask is, what is a failure that has actually turned into a really big positive for you? I'm really big into turning L's into learning lessons versus just letting that defeat you. So that was one.
Are you quoting Chance the Rapper?
No, hell no. That is something that Ox has always said.
Turn them L's into lessons.
No. Now he probably took that. He probably took that from me, to be honest. If we being real. Because I be tweeting that all the time.
One of my biggest, is it career wise? Does it have to be like any failure in your life?
Sure. I mean, we've been talking about career, but we can get personal if you'd like.
Yeah, I think so. The biggest L that I took that ended up making it be better for me is my relationship not working out, because I did not think I was gonna be in this position. I thought I was gonna be like literally like married with like at least like 2 kids or something by now. I thought like I'd be like more like in that kind of realm, or like just like, you know, wife, mom, love my family, like, you know, Starbucks, Target, I don't know. But and I honestly had really settled for that in my mind if I was being really real with myself at the time. But when that relationship failed and you're like, okay, wait a minute, I only have one life. What am I doing? I was out of college. I had a job at a bank, and then I left the job. So I wasn't even working. So I was like, I was really a stay-at-home girlfriend, which is a horrible idea. Don't ever be a stay-at-home girlfriend. There is nothing to do. There's nothing to do. We didn't even have a plant or a pet. We had nothing to take care of.
No cats, no nothing.
I had nothing. Not a bird, a fish, nothing. And I was so bored, and my boredom made me needy, and it made me be like a woman that just like, kind of cringy, like somebody I personally wouldn't even really rock with or probably hang out with.
Right.
But that the failure of that, having to come home with like no money, like having to be like, use Western Union, like, hey mom, can you Western Union me so that I can drive back home?
Wow.
And like all of that. I worked part-time. I got home. I got 2 days a week. I got a part-time job at Planet Fitness. And I really do believe in write the vision and make it plain.
Yep.
That's a real thing.
Yep.
At Planet Fitness, I had prepped my meals. I was eating salad. I was trying to get myself like, you know, get myself together. And I also was writing my goals down. I kept it. It's still a binder I have, and it says 2015 goals. And when I opened up the binder, I found it when I was living in LA. I opened it up and I was like, yo, it had moving to California. It had all of these things I had done
for sure.
In that binder. And I didn't even realize it was like, you know, really dedicate yourself to getting back in front of the camera some way, shape, or form. Like, I was like, well, if I don't know how to get in front of the camera, but I could probably get into the industry. Like, what am I good at? I'm like, I could talk to people. I could probably do like PR. I'd probably be really good at that.
Right.
And I did Philly Fashion Week, and I was laying out cheese and crackers and strawberries for the VIP section. And I was like, yo, this is not what I thought PR, like being a PR intern was going to be like, you know, and I'm all in my all black, just super fashionable. I'm just like out here laying out snacks. Like I was like the snack mom.
Right.
But
she paid your dues though.
It's humility. Like, do you have it in you to humble yourself each step of the way? Every single step in my career, I've been humbled by something. Like, where you're just like, okay, am I humble enough? To do this, to operate in this, to work and not get paid, because I've worked many times and not gotten paid. Am I humble enough to do this, to get to where I gotta go? And just that one step of literally, it makes me laugh, is literally laying out cheese and crackers helped me to meet one person, then the next person, and it all kind of plugged up and everything aligned. And I met all these people, and I did, like, it literally was the jump start to my life. So that's my biggest failure. I think it felt like a personal failure at the time, definitely, for sure.
The Planet Fitness business model is wild, by the way, also.
Yeah, like
free pizza like, Fridays and donuts and bagels. So y'all that's how you keep your clientele. That's an abusive relationship.
The lunk alarm.
What was the lunk alarm?
Like, the lunk alarm is, you know what I'm saying? The lunk alarm is when somebody, you know what I'm talking about. The lunk alarm is when somebody be like, ooh, and they drop the weight, and they're like, ooh, like when they do something like that, you have to hit the lunk alarm. Like, I remember this guy that like, oh, he's dropping the weight, hit the lunk alarm. I was like, he has on headphones. He cannot hear that the weight hit the floor. He has no clue. He didn't throw it down. He doesn't even know that it hit the floor. He has on beats. Like, he has on whole, headphones like yours, like not like these, like whole covering his ears. He can't hear. I'm not hitting the alarm. I'm not doing that. It's embarrassing to me. I don't want to do it.
Oh, that's hilarious. All right,
but I worked like overnights. It was hella dangerous though, like by myself.
Yeah. I got two more for you. This may be, I guess, the same answer, but you said that you weren't a confident person. I was certainly a very shy person, and then all of a sudden I'm performing in front of people.
That's amazing.
You're literally in front of camera talking to hundreds and thousands of people at home. And stuff's recorded, so whatever you say,
I never thought about that, so that's not.
So where did you get your confidence? At what point in your life?
The people you stand in front of can yell back at you. The people who I stand in front of, I have to log into social media to hear from them.
Stop deflecting. Come on, stop deflecting.
Um,
Stop deflecting. Seriously. So where, like, how did you get? How are you all of a sudden comfortable and confident to be able to? Because I see you go on Instagram Live and you post your your production and your pre before you go on stage. I mean, you are
yeah.
comfortable in front of a camera.
When I realized that people could like me for me, that I had something to offer that wasn't um that wasn't like superficial.
Mm-hmm.
Like that people really thought that I was funny, that I somehow brought them joy or I said something inspirational or like they just connected with me. It happened way before I even got, back in the news as I was
Mm-hmm.
making my journey in different on camera experiences or things like that, or just connecting
Mm-hmm.
with different people. It just made me realize like, wow, there are people who actually they like me. They
Mm-hmm.
like me and they like interacting with me and they like me for myself. And that's great and it makes you feel good. And I feel like that's a boost as you're doing it. But initially getting confidence, my mom always says a thing, and it's a famous like quote, I guess people always say, fake it till you make it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I did. And really the biggest probably moment that it clicked for me that like I could really do this
Mm-hmm.
is having a conversation with my brother. Rest in peace to him. Literally, like the biggest influence in my life. His birthday is on Sunday. I miss him dearly. And we were talking, and I remember I was like sobbing, like ugly cry to him. And I was like, I'm a failure. I'm disappointing mom. I'm disappointing you guys. I'm letting you guys down. Like y'all sent me to this expensive school. I was a terrible student. Like I'm here working at a bank. Like I'm supposed to be in the news. I'm supposed to be the news lady, and I'm not. And I remember he was just like, Felicia, nobody thinks that. And no one thinks that. And you're not a failure. And he was just saying like, I look at these other people, he's like, Felicia, there's no difference between you and them. And whenever he said that, I think something just really clicked for me. And a couple months later, I was out moving to LA. I was gone. Like I was like preparing to move to LA, and I was out, and that was it. Like once I realized that the people who really, really mattered still saw me in that light. They still saw the potential for me to do well, for me to achieve my dreams. And when he pointed out, like, you can do it. What disqualifies you? Why not you? Why not you? There's no difference. So once you have that, once you have the support of your family, I think, or whoever matters to you anyway, I think that makes you a lot more confident. And then along the way, it's just different people that I meet. They're just like, you got it. Like, I don't know, like, you got it. Like, and I've heard that many times. And I think that maybe the more you hear it, the first couple times you're like, yeah, okay, whatever. Like, whatever. You're just saying that to be nice. But then I meet these different people, and I don't like to name drop and do all that, but you meet these different people and they tell you like, oh, you got it. Like something, I don't know, something about you. Like, I'm not sure what it is.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, I don't know what it is either. Shoot, I mean,
I'm just me. Yeah.
I'm just
and that actually
trying.
leads me to my last question, which is, what has been the first, or I guess the most affirming moment to let you know that I can do this? I'm in the right place. I'm in the right career. Because you're doing something that obviously tons and tons and tons of kids watch at home and think like, oh man, that would be cool, but nah, that's too far out of reach. And then you go to college to do this, and how many kids and students are in those college classes, right? And there's all that self-doubt. You just described some of yours. I of course went through mine. What was that affirming moment for you, saying that, like, you know what, I can do this, I got this?
I'm gonna try not to be emotional. Okay.
You've already talked about
like really though. Remember at the beginning of this conversation, me talking about Lisa Thomas Laurie and watching her and how it made me feel. Anytime that somebody reaches out and says like, it makes me so proud to see you in that space. I'd be about to, like, literally every time I'm like, don't do that, because I know what it feels like to watch somebody in that space and then to instill that sense of pride in you. Like, it might not be me in that arena, in that space, but I still see something about myself in that space and in that arena. when I first started getting back into news, I had a mom put a comment and said, hey, my daughter said, I didn't know news ladies could wear their hair like that. I didn't know news ladies had hair like that. And I was just like, it's so small. It's like the smallest thing, but it's huge.
Yeah.
Because if there wasn't Elisa Thomas Lori, there wouldn't be Felicia Michelle. And it brings me back to something you said a little bit earlier where you were like, I want to do more for the kids. I want to do more for the kids. Visibility does so much more. I've never met Cicely Tyson in my life, and I'm really sad that I'm never going to have that experience. Right. But she is so inspirational. Like, so it's like you don't need to necessarily maybe have that one-on-one. You should do that if you are led to do that. Definitely do that, but don't think you're not doing enough. If you're visible, you show people what's possible. Like literally, like you're a guy like from California, like you're African guy from California who went to school on the East Coast that works in an industry where there's not a lot of minorities, and you're a comedian, and like so it's like all you have to do is just show up. Right. When you show up, things can happen. So it's showing up and just really like being your authentic self in that position. And it does inspire people. It does. I'm inspired by people when I hear that, or I had somebody reach out like that they're not in news, but they decided to go back to grad school because they saw how hard I was grinding towards my dream, and they thought they should grind towards their dream. And they were like, I just want to let you know that. And I'm just like, how you just gonna drop that on me like that? You know what I'm saying? Like, how you gonna drop it? So I think it's not one definitive moment, but those moments really keep you energized to move forward, even when it's some bullshit.
Right. No, I mean, you made it this far. You literally made it to the last question.
To the very end.
Literally got to the very end. All right. Well,
not that bad.
Well, Felicia, I really appreciate your time. And honestly, like it is so dope for me to see people our age, that went through, obviously, if I've met them in college or high school that are doing their thing, and you for sure are. And it really does help me push me to do my thing, to do whatever I want to do in my life. So, you may not hear it every day.
It's never too late. It's never too late. You could still be a sportscaster. It's literally never too late to go after what you want to do. I've learned that in life. Like bringing up against Cicely Tyson didn't start her acting career until she was 30 years old. Like everybody always puts this timeline on things, and timing is time. First off, let's just talk about it. God, whoever you leave in the universe, does not operate on your timeline. Like that's not how that works. Like time is our social construct of how we can manage the days and the months or however we do it. Right. Alignment is what is key, because your time is like, oh, I want this job here. I want to do this there. You're not aligned with what you're going to need to be in that space. So maybe you need to have a podcast and you need to be on stage in front of people because that develops something in you to be aligned later. So I feel like dreams are to be dreamt and to go after, and it doesn't matter. Like they'll be like, oh, I'll never be a sportscaster. You very well could still be a sportscaster. Like,
yeah,
I could see you on ESPN, but I don't know what are you gonna wear, because they wear like suits, and I just don't see it.
I don't think I've ever worn a suit in my life. Not like that fit properly. You know what I'm saying? I'm not. No.
I didn't want to say that, but I was like, I could totally see you wearing a suit that's like big by the shoulders. Like, what is like? I could totally see that. Like, I don't want to be like. I tried to like put a suit on you, like in my mind. And I was like, I don't think I like it.
Stop dressing me in your head. Keep me out of here.
I'm sorry.
Just playing. Well, I appreciate you very much for this. This has been fun, and I hope you keep grinding, because it's been great though. I would appreciate seeing that.
Nah, I'm never gonna stop. I can't. I literally can't.